Hey, what's up, friend? Juan Pablo here from 100%finance.com. Currently, I'm auditing a deal, a cash flowing deal for one of the newest members of our multi-unit acquisition program, Nathan. Nathan, one of the newest members who just signed up this week.
Like, I took it to heart right away. I created a spreadsheet, and I went out there, I did my 150, I did my plan, this is what I need, this is my expenses.
You talking about the pile formula?
Yeah, the whole pile thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is what I need. And it's exactly what Rashad and I sat down and we did. This is exactly what I need to do, and this is a very attainable goal. Without like mentorship from you guys, I wouldn't think, how do I do it? I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to do it. You guys make it simple, man. That's awesome.
Shout out to you, Nathan, for actually taking the first steps towards your financial freedom. And much like you, Nathan, he was frustrated with a 9-to-5 and did something progressive and proactive towards becoming financially free through real estate. Now, many of our clients in our MAP program, right, while we're analyzing deals and so forth, they bring up very valid concerns, right? All about the number of units and the returns. Let me explain through a scenario, or better yet, a question, right? Let's say you, for instance. Here's a question. Is it wise to actually turn down a deal even though the cash flow is great, but the number of units in that deal was less than 5? Is it wise, right? Because you might be thinking, well, yeah, I think it's wise because I want to become financially free, and the best way to do that is through multifamily investing, which implies, Juan Pablo, 5 units and up. Because anything between 1 and 4 units is considered residential. So yes, Juan, I do think it's wise to turn down that deal because it's less than 5 units. Well, with this video, I really want you to reconsider it. It's always about the moolah, the paper, the cash flow when analyzing rental properties for your buy and hold strategy. Buy and hold strategy will get you to financial freedom, not wholesaling, not flipping. Buy and hold. Why? It produces passive income, wealth, and that is the most important thing. And think about most important, right? It sounds sexy to have many units in your portfolio, but can you actually pay your bills with the number of units you have in your portfolio? Of course not. But you can pay your bills with the amount of cash flow that you receive in your portfolio. And similarly, right, let's use a scenario, right, that's analogous to what I'm trying to articulate to you. Stocks. Many people who have stocks, you might be one of those people who actually, one of those persons who actually have stocks in their portfolio, which is great, right? But do you normally brag about the number of stocks in your portfolio or the return you receive on those stocks in your portfolio? So similarly speaking, you want to do the same thing for real estate. What is the return? What is the cash flow that you're receiving from the units in your portfolio? But hey, you know what? I gotta run because I'm still trying to analyze this client's deal, but I have a meeting. But before I go, I definitely want you to take a look at the whiteboard. Old school style. Shout out to my day ones who are familiar with that whiteboard, because I want to go on this whiteboard and just give you a comparison of 2 scenarios, and I want you to decide which deal you should pursue and why. And by the way, before we get in the whiteboard, I'm not that guy who's actually analyzing all the deals, okay? I know you guys might think that Juan Pablo's doing it all. He's analyzing the deal, he's answering the phone. We have a team, guys. We have a team of about 12 people who actually do these things. So for the purposes of this deal, I'm only auditing. That's it. Just taking the final look to make sure that everything is peachy and good to go. Now let's get to the whiteboard. All right, so we're going to analyze 2 different properties. One is a 10 unit, obviously a multifamily. The other is a 4 unit. Obviously, this is considered residential. Again, anything between 1 and 4 units is residential in the mortgage world, and I'm a licensed mortgage broker, okay? Anything 5 units and up is considered multifamily. Okay, so I want to show you the numbers right here before I go to my meeting. Okay, so let's talk about first the purchase price. So let's say, for example, you come across a 10 unit, purchase price is $300,000, which is not bad, right? So it equates to about $30,000 per unit, which is pretty much the average unit size we obtain for our MAP clients in the Pittsburgh market. It's a $29,600 to be exact. All right, so this is pretty much accurate numbers. All right, this is not made up. Okay, and now we have a 4 unit for about $150,000. Now that's a little bit higher price per door, but it's still not too bad. It's not too bad, okay? Because what we want to focus on is the return, okay? Not necessarily the number of units or the cost per door. Got it? Good. All right, next thing is the down payment. So let's say it's a 20% down payment that's required. Now, for the focuses of today's training or teaching, it's not going to include soft costs. These are costs incurred before you close on a property, or closing costs, just down payment. And let's say for these two deals, no seller financing. Even though we normally negotiate seller financing for our MAP clients, just for the purposes of this training, no seller financing. So with 20% down payment, we take 20% of $300,000, $60,000 down payment. Doesn't include soft costs or closing costs. For the 4 unit, if you take 20% of $150,000, that's a $30,000 down payment. Okay, so this might be more affordable to you guys, right? Depending on how much money you got or you can get access to. You can always use business credit as well to cover these costs. So $60,000 here, $30,000 here. People always wonder, well, how much deals can I afford? Well, it depends on how much capital you have access to, which we help through our cash flow advisors. We help give you that consultation. Now, the next thing is cash flow per door. So before I get into this, allow me to define cash flow for you. Cash flow is an equation, and it's as follows. It's your gross revenue. Now I say revenue for a reason, not just rents, because revenue can also include rents, but also it can include vending machines, laundry, you might be able to sell airspace on top of your apartment building and so forth. Any other money-making activities, that's revenue. So it's revenue minus your OpEx, that's your operating expenses. Taxes, insurance, also includes property management fees and so forth. Utilities, if sometimes you have to pay it as the owner or the tenant pays it, just depending on the deal. And then you want to subtract what's left over, which is called reserves. And this is the biggest mistake I see most beginner investors fail at, right? Or that they make. Most beginners never include reserves. Well, newsflash, sometimes the tenant mistakenly pours cement down your toilet, right? Sometimes they flood the bathroom. But you gotta have reserves for that. And sometimes, the tenants forget to pay. It's the 28th of the month, rent's due on the 1st, they forget. So yeah, these are the horror stories. It happens, but it's not typical, but it does happen. And when these things do happen, you wanna make sure you're prepared and have a safety net for that. So you wanna have reserves. So just to give you a recap, revenue minus operating expenses minus reserves minus your debt service. So the debt service for this deal, let's say you're just using a mortgage, right? And if you're using business credit to fund the down payment, down payment assistance, then in that case, that's your debt service. So revenue minus operating expenses minus reserves minus debt service equals cash flow. Got it? And we're looking at the cash flow per door. So whatever the cash flow is for the building, divided by the number of doors, 10 doors, 4 doors, you get it? Then that equates to your cash flow per door. So let's say for this 10 unit, the cash flow per door is 100. So the overall cash flow for this 10 unit is how much per month? 100 times 10 units, $1,000 per month. You got it? Good. But for this 4 unit, the cash flow after all expenses, debt service, and blah, blah, blah is factored in, $175 per door. So this one has more bang for its buck, right? Now that leads us to the cash on cash return, which lets you know the bang for your buck invested, which is important. Cash on cash return is actually a measurement of how profitable a asset is, right? This real estate property, as well as the time it takes for your cash to return back to you. That's why it's called cash on cash return. How long does it take for your cash to return? I'll explain. A 20% cash on cash return for this 10 unit means you take the yearly cash flow, which is, we can calculate it, $100 per month per unit, that's per door, times 10 units, that's 1,000, times 12 months is yearly. 100 times 10, 1,000 times 12, 12,000. Got it? That's your yearly cash flow. Take that 12,000 divided by the amount of money you invested out of pocket. It doesn't include debt service. So let's say in this example, you've used business credit, for example, to cover your soft costs and closing costs. That the true cost that came out of your pocket was a 20%, $60,000. You got it? You don't factor in that business credit. It's funny, Rudy's shaking his head like, yeah. He's following, he's getting it, that's good, that's good. All right, so just to recap. We're only talking about the $60,000 that came out of your pocket, your savings. Your soft costs, you pay for property inspections, appraisals, closing costs, the attorney got paid, and blah, blah, blah. The real estate agent, the mortgage lender got paid. All that was covered through business credit. You just brought $60,000 to the table. So you take your yearly cash flow, which is $12,000, and divide it by the $60,000, and that equates to 0.2 or 20%. Which means, as I mentioned, cash on cash means the time it takes for this cash to return back into your pocket. So a 20% cash on cash return means it's going to take me 5 years to get my money back for my cash, $60,000, to return back into my pocket. You got it? Which is a high return. Typically in stocks, as we mentioned earlier, a normal return would be what, 6 to 8%, 9% and so forth. You know, if you guys know, comment below, right? But in real estate, it's good to get a return 10% or higher. But for clients in our MAP program, we have a guarantee. We're not going to present you now one deal, whether it's a 10 unit or a 4 unit, it doesn't matter. We're not going to present you with a deal that has a return less than 15%. So we guarantee we'll give you a return of 15% or higher. That's our guarantee, okay? Now let's move forward with this one over here. Now for the 4 unit, you can calculate the math the same way, right? You take the cash flow per door, which is 175. You take 175 times 4 units. Let me get my calculator. All right, I ain't trying to do this stuff in my head, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna take, let's show you math. I'm gonna take 175 per door times how many doors? 4 doors. So that's $700 a month times 12 months. $8,400 in cash flow per year, divided by the amount of cash we have invested, which is $30,000. In the same scenario, let's say business credit covered the soft costs and closing costs, and $30,000 just came cash out of pocket. So we're going to divide that by. that's our cash flow advisors, man. They some live folks. 28%. This is 28% here. See, all this stuff is real. These are actual deals that we present to our clients. This is not just made up, just simple math. This is real stuff, right? In our market, we invest in. So it's a 28% return. So my question to you is, you know what? I'm actually running a little bit late for this meeting. So you know what? Before I get into the pros and cons and give you some more information, let's go ahead and go to the car and wrap this up, and I'll see you guys outside. So what's the pro of owning a 10-unit apartment building? Well, the first thing is this. It's the sex appeal. It sounds sexy to own 10 units, and it's easier to have a partner put their money in a deal with you if you're doing a bigger deal, right? It's sexy. And the second thing that's great, a pro about a 10 unit, is simple, the fact that you can definitely, this is one of the greatest things, you can force the appreciation by how you manage it, right? You have 10 units. So if you give each one of those 10 units a $50 rent increase, $50 times 10 units equals an additional cash flow, $500 per month added to your bottom line. Now that's impressive. That's excellent. Now there's also major, big pros in regard to the 4 unit, right? One of the pros is this. The cash flow, we already discussed that. You have a higher cash flow and a higher return. Plus, it's less units to manage. Would you rather manage 10 tenants if you want to self-manage your properties, or would you rather manage 4? Right? That's good. And plus, the other pro is this. With the 4 unit, you actually have 2 sets of buyers if you ever intend to flip that property. What do you mean, Juan? Well, with the 10 unit, who typically buys a 10 unit? An investor, which is cool. One type of buyer. But when you're buying a 4 unit or selling a 4 unit, who typically buys that? It could be an owner-occupant. My first property was a duplex, in which I lived in 1 unit and rented out the other. Owner-occupant. But an investor can also buy that 2 unit as well. So in this case, it's the same. As a residential, you can sell it to someone who wants to live in that property, and they have to just put down a 3.5% down payment through FHA mortgage, or you can also flip it and sell it to an investor. All right, now let's get into the cons here. With the 10 unit, there are some cons, right? As I mentioned, you're getting less cash flow, you're going to get a lower return, and you only have one person that you can potentially sell it to, an investor, which is not really that bad, right? But with the 4 unit, there's some cons to that as well. Being that it's residential, you could have some difficulty where the underwriting for the mortgage is concerned, right? The underwriting may be a tad bit more stringent, and they may not allow seller financing. However, it's depending on the lender. So if you happen to use one of our lenders, let's assume you're a member of our MAP program, right? Our lenders are able to get that 4 unit, 3 unit, 2 unit that you have under contract. They're able to extend seller financing as well as have less stringent underwriting, because we work with, here's a secret, portfolio lenders, okay? But it's only our preferred lenders that we vetted. If you try doing it on your own, you might not be able to find a lender who'd be willing to allow seller financing for a 4-unit, okay? And of course, with the 4-unit, even though the cash flow is juicy, you might have to really do some hard selling to get a partner with that type of deal, right? But if you're cool with just doing these deals by yourself and you're cool with more stringent underwriting, then by all means, 4 units are good to go. So both types of properties, right? The 10-unit and the 4-unit has its pros, has its cons, and so forth. And what I'll do at the end of this video, just check the description, I'll add some more pros and cons for each, right? So you can just see a written description, okay? But before I go, I want you guys to consider this, right? Which deal would you pursue and why? Considering the amount of capital you have to invest, considering how bad you want to be financially free, independent, to say goodbye to 9 to 5 and give your boss the deuces, turn in that 2 weeks notice, and be a full-time real estate investor, how bad do you want it? Also considering your credit, right? As I mentioned, underwriting is vital. Qualify for mortgages, your negotiating skills, negotiating seller financing, all that jazz. Depending on whatever you can bring to the table that's considered valuable, which one would you pursue and why? The 10-unit and the 4-unit, comment below. And by the way, no answer is a wrong answer, all right? I just want you to comment below, and I want to respond to your comments and see what your guys' mindset is, okay? But let me not be late. Let me jump in a ride and head to my next business meeting. Gotta make this money, YouTube. And by the way, guys, this is to your success. I want you to earn passively and live passionately. Peace. Gotta hop in the whip.
You guys make it simple, man. That's awesome.
Excellent. Simplifying real estate investing. Now, you did mention that this needs to be translated into Spanish.
Oh, I would love to translate this into Spanish, man.
Yeah, why do you say that? Why is that important?
Because there's so many people that they need to. You don't have access to this, and like Spanish people don't have a clue. You give them this book in simple terms like this, and they have capital. You'd be surprised how many Spanish people that have easy 25K, 10K, whatever they can apply, and they're working their butt off. The Spanish culture is you work, and then you don't. There's no such thing as passive income. They don't think about that. They don't think about retirement. This right here, you do this, you feed it to them, and you have so many people. You'll be able to help so many people.
I got it, because it's more important. What's more important is wealth instead of work.
Right. You gotta
build wealth.
You gotta think bigger picture. You can't. It's not about working hard. It's about working smart too. And if you don't save for your future, you're wasting time, man. Energy. You're working so hard, and then a lot of Spanish people, like, they come in, they work hard, physical jobs, and they don't realize that.
Especially in real estate.
Yeah. They work. They already know the system. They just don't use the opportunity that the U.S. has to offer. So if you show them, save yourself for retirement. You're once you hit 50, your back's gonna get, your knees are gonna get. You gotta invest, man. You can't
for the future.
You can't. You gotta do it for your kids. Show them how to make it an easier life, and it's not hard to do.
Hey, coming soon, guys.
Yeah.
As a result.